2023 has been a crazy year. I have visited nearly every country in the world, from going to Somalia,
Welcome, Somalia!
to go to the far east of Ukraine during full-blown war with plenty of missile attacks.
Pretty wild.
To riding the world's longest iron ore train through the Sahara. To going to Yemen, a war-torn country.
Yemen! Only in Yemen.
And trying out condom, which is 99% safe.
The condom!
I have visited around 50 countries this year and many additional places. I nearly died a few times and I spent almost 2 months in Italy.
Very well.
Well, my 2023 has been one of the wildest years in my life, and I'll now give you the recap of a year with plenty of ups and downs. It all started in Turkey.
We made it to Serbia kitchen.
I started the year flying from Istanbul to Oman,
Hello guys from Oman.
where I spent some days in Muscat, the capital of
Oman?
which was blending modern and traditional architecture very well and was a clean city.
I like Oman also.
Before I took a bus 11 hours south to Salalah,
Just right here in the center of Salalah.
known as the perfume capital of Arabia. Here I met a guy called Sultan who ended up showing me some magical places like Wadi Dabat, and we tried some delicious food also. Sultan was a cool guy and I gave him a big tip for his kind efforts. After hanging out with Sultan in Oman, I went to mainland Yemen with a friendly guy called Wafi. I already did a week in Socotra back in 2021, so I had technically been to Yemen. But I always wanted to see mainland Yemen, and I'm already thinking of making a big Yemen group trip in 2024. Follow me on Instagram for updates on this. Gus on the go. Anyway, I met a very kind local guy in Yemen with 8 kids called Abdullah, who gave me a lot of lobsters for free in Yemen. So I just felt like I had to go to the local market and buy him a lot of things in return for his kind acts.
We are really gonna spoil Abdullah so much. Okay, we just left it at Abdullah's house. They don't expect us. They probably don't even know who it's from.
What a guy Abdullah was. Yemen, I'll be back for the 3rd time soon, inshallah. Stunning views here. I came back to Oman and went to some decent beaches close to Salalah, like Al Hafa Beach. And I had some great Lebanese food and explored the area before taking the bus 11 hours back to Muscat. Of course, I ended with a visit to Mutra, which is the best area in Muscat for sightseeing. A lot of things going on at the Mutra Corniche. Very friendly people in Oman.
Beautiful. Beautiful country.
Then I went to UAE with a quick stop there before heading to Israel.
Outside the airport here in Israel.
I went out in Tel Aviv a bit in my 2nd visit to Israel. I also went to Israel in 2018 and explored for a week there with the main intention to visit Palestine, and it was the only way to enter Palestine at the time. It's so sad to see what is happening at the moment in Gaza. It really breaks my heart. I was actually just going via Israel to Italy.
Okay, made it to Bergamo.
And then tried some different tasty pizza slices.
Margarita.
I enjoyed Denmark a bit and then I was off to Portugal. I had a Portuguese francesinha and some wine in Lisbon with my American friend Gina, who has visited every country and is a very cool female traveler.
First traveler to finish in the pandemic.
After that I met Otman in Morocco and he took me around Casablanca, Morocco's largest city, where we did some funny interviews with the Moroccan people.
Best city in Morocco.
Oh yeah, really? Camel burger here in Casablanca, Morocco. Very authentic.
Casablanca has good malls also and a beautiful coastline. Then I was off to Mauritania to do my first group trip of 2023. This was my first all-guys group trip ever, and also in Mauritania, after having done 6 Mauritania expeditions. I had some awesome guys with me for 8 days in Mauritania, where we saw surreal and undiscovered places. And at last we jumped on the world's longest iron ore train, 20 hours through the Sahara, and we were destroyed after 700 kilometers of madness.
Outstanding. Awesome.
We ended up buying an expensive camel for our local friend Mohammed's wedding, just because boys will be boys and he deserved it.
Yeah, good comment. Thank you, bro.
Crazy.
Chris, did you buy a camel to someone before?
Never.
I mean, this is something else.
For his wedding and
I came to Denmark and bought some new necessities for my travels, some hard drives and a new drone. I, by the way, have a link in the description if you want to get the same drone, which is very convenient to travel with. And then I also went to the American Embassy for an interview to get a 10-year American visa. I waited 1.5 years for this interview, and I was honestly very nervous before. After a 1-hour interview, I got the visa, and I was so relieved after, because this would make a big travel that I had in mind possible. More on that later. I also managed to visit my parents before flying to Geneva in Switzerland, and then I was off to France. In France, I went to Condom.
Condom is French and it feels 99% safe.
I love Condom, even though I always heard so many bad things about it.
But it's simply not true, guys. I can only recommend you guys to come in Condom.
It was just great trying out Condom.
It's 99% guaranteed. Condom magnifique?
Yes.
C'est bon?
Yes.
Santé.
And how long have you been in Condom?
About 20 years.
Would you recommend people to try Condom?
Yeah.
After my full Condom experience, I had absolutely
Nothing to lose.
And Toulouse was a vibrant and beautiful city.
And I love a person with blue eyes and blonde hair like you.
Nicknamed the Pink City due to the colors of the predominant bricks.
It's pretty beautiful.
It's also very famous for its food, including specialities such as cassoulet, as my French friend Andy made for me. A must try if you go to the region.
Sato sa mère, trop bon.
I'm from Toulouse.
I also visited Lyon, which certainly is a charming city, and also the city where the first films were made in history in 1895. My flight got cancelled in France, so I had an extra day here, and I decided to visit France's most boring city, Chivor. It might be a city that fun forgot, but it was still a thrilling experience to visit it. I did some risky hiking here, which nearly had gone completely wrong, and Chivor was actually kinda great considering it was so boring.
Actually walking in the middle of the road right now. Only possible in Chivor. Time to go and watch Nested play.
After I went to watch football with my dad to support our local football team Næstved, who were playing their first match of the season. Næstved started the season with a draw, which wasn't bad, especially if you look at their position here midway through the season in the second best Danish league. The absolute bottom of the table. Hopefully we can survive relegation by the end of the season this year. I really hope so. And so does my dad, who is the biggest Næstved supporter. I had some beach walks with my family and I got the last vaccine jab, so I could prepare for my travels in the Pacific, where the vaccine was still needed to visit pretty much all of the countries there. Can you believe it? In early 2023? Whoa, time flies and things change very fast in this world. After I went to the Ira Ancient Baths in Copenhagen for a relaxing spa session after some busy days in Denmark. And then I was ready for my next trip.
Such a good experience here.
Vamos a la playa. I was off to Spain, a country I've visited 14 times. This time I was off to Alicante, which had some epic views and was brimming with heritage. The castle of Santa Barbara looks gorgeous on the top of the city.
Alicante!
And the paella was so tasty here. Murcia was also glorious, with its tranquil streets and local vibe. The Cathedral of Murcia is also one of the prettiest in Spain. And I met a lot of characters here in Spain's 7th largest city.
Murcia.
I hope that all the people come here to visit my land.
After Alicante and Murcia, I went to Albacete, which was my least favorite of the three. But it still had some good sights and the people were warmer than the weather here in the end of February for sure.
Albacete.
Central Spain's underdog, Albacete, still had a good potential. I met some good and traditional girls at last in Alicante. And then I was going to Frankfurt, which is home to the most impressive skyline in Germany. And here I did some interviews with the people here.
Walking around Frankfurt.
Before going to Panama for 2 whole weeks. I started off nearly crashing my new drone in Panama City among all these big skyscrapers. And I had to land it in a random hotel next to a swimming pool because I lost signal. I was lucky I managed to land it next to the swimming pool when the drone started to go down very fast. I had to go to 10 different hotels before I found the one where the drone was. And it was a big relief to find it.
So I had to land my drone over here. Gracias, amigo. Wow, really emergency landing. Don't try to fly your drone in Panama City.
Panama, what can I say? Panamanians love to have a good time with party, dance and karaoke at night. And during my time here, I also visited the mysterious and fascinating Embera tribe deep in the rainforest of Panama. A unique experience, and they still keep their traditional lifestyle here. And I experienced their way of living with music and dance. I really admired their determination to hold on to their tribal costumes. The Embera tribe, what a community. I went to the Nomad Mania conference with a lot of big travelers in Bocas del Toro, where we discussed different travel topics. And yeah, we also celebrated life in the spirit of Bocas del Toro. And I also randomly met my fairy's cousin, which is actually the second time that happens on a travel. Whoa, the world is really small. When you visit Panama, of course a visit to the Panama Canal is a must also. So I had to do that. Such massive container ships here. And I'm also happy I got to spend some good time in Panama City on this trip, where I met a lot of good and crazy Panamanian people. In between my 2 weeks in Panama, I also managed to do a little second visit to Costa Rica, to some new regions of the country that I didn't see before. I mean, check out this black sand beach in Costa Rica, which is pretty cool, right? It's always pura vida or the pure life in Costa Rica, that's for sure.
Con mi amigo here in Costa Rica, bonito país, pero un poco caro. Un poco caro. Gracias, amigo.
I then spent some time back in Denmark in my apartment and with my family and cat also, preparing for my big trip over the next many months to the Pacific.
182 countries, and the last part starts now. Let's go to the Pacific.
I flew from Denmark to UAE and from UAE to Singapore, where I spent 36 hours.
Singapore!
Clean and lovely country. I did some interviews here and I was mostly hanging out at the Marina Bay Sands area before I flew to Fiji to start a big 3 months long journey, where I did some cool cruises to picturesque sandbanks and islands, and with good bulla vibes on board. Fijian people love to sing with their ukuleles, and the water was mesmerizing here. Nadi also had a cool Indian temple which is called
Sri Subramanian Swami Temple,
and it is the largest Hindu temple in the Pacific. The total population of Indians in Fiji is 315,000, which is around 35% of the total population of Fiji. People here in Fiji just have good bulla vibes.
Bulla Fiji!
I knew Fiji would be my transportation hub where I would come and go over the next months. So I saved a bit for later, and first stop on the Pacific trip after Fiji was Vanuatu.
welcome to Vanuatu.
I spent a week here in the most at-risk country for natural disasters in the world, but also one of the world's happiest countries, with very friendly people. Off to Fiji again, and I connected straight away here to go to Tonga. I spent nearly a week in Tonga, known as the Friendly Islands. I met a Chilean guy called Hilton, and we saw all the highlights Tonga had to offer together. This tsunami rock was one of my favorites. It was also cool to meet a prison inmate in the bus who was off from prison in the weekend, just chilling out with his family, before he would go back to jail on Monday. Man, you gotta love the relaxed vibes here in Tonga. Of course, I also saw Tonga's Stonehenge, and people were just friendly here.
Tonga!
Then I flew to Samoa, where I spent nearly 10 days.
Talofa!
One of my favorite countries in the Pacific. From seeing traditional local dances and learning about the culture, to swimming in this waterhole called Tosua. Super scenic. And I even managed to visit the other island, Savai, which was much more natural and had some beautiful places to check out, like this waterfall called Afuao.
I'm walking around Savai Island right now, which is the biggest in Samoa.
And then I went back to Fiji. In Fiji, I went to the Sabeto hot spring mud pool and also the Garden of the Sleeping Giant, which was a super cool hiking spot. It was great to see how diverse Fiji is. So much more than just stunning beaches. After Fiji, I flew to Kiribati. Well, it's actually spelled Kiribati, but it's pronounced Kiribati. It was one of the most scenic airport landings I've ever had, and the roads were really bumpy here, but the country was full of smiling, friendly faces who greet you with a Maori and who are willing to talk.
Welcome to Kiribati.
Kiribati. This water is so turquoise.
Kiribati is sadly set to disappear in 2050 due to the sea level rise. Again, I spent more than a week here in a Pacific country, and it was totally worth it. I went to Tarawa's highest point, which is an astounding 3 meters high. Also, there were plenty of World War II remainings here, and this country just kept on surprising me from day to day.
2, 3, Kiribati!
After Kiribati, I went back to Fiji, saw some new things there, and then off to Tuvalu, one of my personal favorites in the Pacific.
If I didn't have a girlfriend, I would.
Here I met my travel friend, the world's most traveled man, Harry Mitsidis, randomly.
Who do we have here?
What are you doing here? Don't tell me you're going to Tuvalu.
Of course.
Well, of course you're going to Tuvalu because it's the most obvious thing in the world. There we are.
Tuvalu!
And we ended up driving around the whole island on a scooter together.
Are we having a good time, Harry?
about being free.
The airport is the public playground here, with only 2 flights a week, and Tuvalu is one of the safest countries I've ever been to.
Tuvalu!
The world's second least visited country didn't disappoint.
You know, this is such a wholesome place.
After Tuvalu, I went back to Fiji, this time to the capital Suva, where I had to visit Cumming Street.
I found Cumming Street here in Suva. This better be a joke. This is insane.
It's good to come to Suva, but not like in the island.
And somehow after I ended up inside the Fijian parliament after speaking with a local Bula guy. I also went to the Koloi Suva Forest Park, which was a cool rainforest, and I met these friendly and funny locals here. Seriously, what a country Fiji is. I checked out the local market in Naisuri, or as the locals call it,
Suri.
So we're driving around Naisuri. Suri, baby. You just call it Suri?
Yeah, Suri.
and then I flew back to Nandi, and then I went to the Happy Islands.
Solomon Island.
I stayed with a lovely family here, saw surprisingly many blonde people like me, and I made it to this gorgeous waterfall after a long and difficult hike.
Solomon Island!
I paid to take my whole Solomon Island family on a boat ride to some neighboring islands, and we had the time of our lives exploring these paradise places. Trust me, it's not enough to just visit the capital Honiara here.
Island fun!
Island fun!
One of the boys made me this drawing of me to say goodbye. What a memorable stay here. I then went to Brisbane in Australia. It was the first time in Australia since 8 years, where I spent a month at the time traveling around Australia as a young surfer dude. This time I had short hair though, and Brisbane, or as the locals call it, Bris Vegas, was a blast. I knew I would be back here soon, but it was time to go to the world's least visited country. Nauru.
It's so small, Nauru. It's just 21 square kilometers.
It took me 2 months to get the visa to go here, so once I finally got it, I decided to spend 8 days here in Nauru as one of the only travelers to do so. I walked around the entire country 3 times and biked around the country 3 times too. Because when can you honestly do that in an entire country?
Nauru.
Nauru!
I had to hold a stick to avoid the big and dangerous dogs here, which the locals train to fight and which can attack you at any time. Nauru is the world's least visited country, and after spending 8 days here, I got a weird love feeling for this obscure island nation.
My friend here from Nauru. Very good to meet you, brother.
Yeah, you too, bro.
It's safe to say there's no place like Nauru on earth. I then spent nearly a week in Micronesia, where it rained a lot. But one of my highlights was a night out with 4 old single ladies, where we drank all the local alcoholic beverages. And it was just such a chilled out country to visit.
Taxi here in Micronesia with Eddie.
The rain obviously made filming difficult here because it was so intense, but I still managed to see some beautiful sights.
Monuments and cathedrals here in Micronesia.
After I went to the very Americanized Marshall Islands and spent 10 days here, I saw the tuna championships, who can make the best tuna, and here I met the beautiful Miss Marshall Islands. I also saw the arm wrestle championships, where a massive guy called Floyd won it all.
Congratulations.
It was my first time.
You did a good job, man. Really impressive.
And I had a barbecue in my local friend's Daniel's island. I also ended up recording a song here with Daniel's 2 sons, and we made a music video too in this hidden gem. No doubt my stay in Marshall Islands was very special.
Yakwe.
My local friend Revi also helped me so much during my stay here, and I also went on the biggest radio station in the country with the local DJ Yastoman.
I love it, man.
Marshall Islands definitely has a place in my heart. After I came back to Brisbane, and I was off to the highest point in the city, Mount Cootha. I took my bicycle and did wild kangaroo hunting in a park 1 hour outside of Sydney.
Only in Australia.
And then I explored Sydney with my Turkish friend Mina. It was fantastic to be back in Australia and to meet so many friendly Aussies again, who always have a great sense of humor.
When it comes to Australia, I've got nothing really nice to say about it at all. Sorry.
And after my time here, I flew to Singapore and spent a day here making a $30 challenge before going to Taiwan. Here I met Kai, who was such a cool local guy, and I explored the country for 1 week. Taipei, Taichung, Yilan City, etc. A lot of good places, and I also met Yvonne, who showed me the local nightlife in Taipei, which was full of action and things to do. Taiwan, I'll be back sooner or later. This country of 24 million people is just epic, and thanks Kai and Yvonne for everything. I came back to Denmark just in time for my dad's retirement reception, which was a very special moment. My dad has been a teacher for more than 40 years, and it was great to spend some time with my loved ones before I went to Rome and Italy, where I ended up spending a lot of my summer. Rome. Nemi.
Everything is strawberry here in Nemi. Delicious.
Santa Marinella. watching Rome play and win against Spezia in the magical Stadio Olimpico,
Forza Roma!
explored one of Italy's food capitals, Bologna,
A lot of buildings are in orange here in Bologna.
where spaghetti bolognese is made, Riano, Spaggia Tovajanica,
Very well.
Rome at night. I somehow ended up at the Pride in Rome, where I met a lot of funny characters like these guys and this woman. Then I met Matilda and Angelica, the two Italian albino girls, two of very few people who are blonder than me, and I made a video about them, of course. Perugia, and explored this city, one of Italy's hidden gems, and the capital of the Umbria region. It was a great summer in Italy, and then I came to Denmark to some stunning sunsets by the beach and long days of daylight. Really, there's nothing like July in Denmark. I spent some time in Copenhagen and also in Denmark's Miami, Karrebæksminde. It was good to spend some time with my family, which is so important to me. I had the longest day of daylight of the year in Copenhagen, where it's a tradition to burn a witch for some reason on that day. Here I also had a very sad experience, saying goodbye to my family's cat Putty, which I have had so many beautiful memories with. But it was time for it to return to the family I got it from. A big loss for me and for the whole family. I went to the Faxe limestone quarry and Møns Klint after to try to cheer up a bit. Magical Danish places. I then did a Denmark trip with my parents for 3 days, where we went from the most southern point, Gedser, to the most northern point of Denmark, Greenland, and we saw a lot of special places in Denmark on the way, like Middelfart, or Helnes Island, which has Denmark's most scenic bridge in my opinion, and a very beautiful lighthouse. Rubjerg Knudefyr was awesome, but it was a very windy day, an unforgettable family trip. I rented a go-boat with Letty in Copenhagen, and it started out really well sailing around Copenhagen's charming canals, but it turned out to be a disaster in the end. Well, you have to love the unpredictable Danish summer weather. Then I went back to Italy and Rome.
I'm born in Rome.
First thing first, as always, is to go to the Vatican.
Vaticano!
Here I interviewed some of the locals in Rome, and I met my friend Giovanni.
I'm fighting for Jesus Christ.
Which country has the most beautiful people?
I'm here for Jesus Christ. I'm an apostle of Jesus Christ. God bless you too. I'm with your brother and love you so much. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, bro.
It was too hot in Rome at the time, so I went up in the Lake District, 45 minutes away from Rome, to a place called Castelli Romani, and I met some friendly Italian people here. Then I went to a new region of Italy called Marche, which had really great views. And we met an Italian guy called Livio, who gave us a big ice cream. Italian people are so nice and always with a lot of hand movements. We had to round off with an Aperol Spritz with great views of Marche and Ancona, a very underrated region of Italy that very few foreign tourists go to for some reason. I then had a relaxing pool day in Riano and a lot of homemade Italian food, which is my favorite food in the world. And I also went to Roma 2 shopping center and did some interviews here, and I tried to buy a new microphone, which by the way broke in Marche. Check this video for proof. I had the best pizza in Rome.
Migliore. The best.
Close to the Vatican. I then asked people in Rome if they were happy. And it kind of seemed like they were. I mean, they were in Italy, so why not? I had some great red wine and then I left Italy to go to Serbia. Here I met my American Mauritanian friend Xavier, who for some reason put on his thick Balkan accent.
I'd like to go to Japan, not so many tourists after 1945.
We had some cocktails at night in Belgrade, and it's always great to be back in what could be the best country in Balkan. It was nice to spend a few summer days in Belgrade, one of my favorite Eastern European cities. There's just always a great atmosphere here. I then came to Copenhagen and met with Thor Petersen, who just became the first person in history to visit every single country in an unbroken journey completely without flying. It took him nearly 10 years to do it, and we had to make a video about his amazing accomplishment.
And remember guys,
a stranger
is a friend you've never met before.
I visited my grandmother as always when I'm in Denmark. I watched Næstved play, who still didn't win their match. So after my dad and I decided to do some practice to get ready to help Næstved to win some matches in 2024. And then I went to Greenland for 10 days. Here I visited 6 different places. It costed a fortune in flight tickets, but it was really worth it. Shout out to my Danish Greenlandic friend Malik, who was great to hang out with in Nuuk, and Cecilia and her friends too. My flight got cancelled home because of the strong winds, so I ended up spending an extra day in Greenland, which I couldn't complain about. I already can't wait to come back here one day. I did a walk in the forest in Denmark with my dad and spent a few days in Denmark, and then I went to Mallorca in Spain. Mallorca was my first ever visit to somewhere south of Denmark when I was just 5 years old, so I decided to come back now and spend 5 days here as an adult to see how I liked it now many years later. It is indeed a very touristy destination with a lot of touristy stuff to do, but if you take it as it is, you can still have a very good time here and drink a lot of sangria. It's mandatory in Mallorca.
Mallorca!
I came home to watch Nesfit with my dad, and they still didn't win, of course. Let's just say the situation is a bit critical, but my dad and I will be there to support them no matter what. Then I went to Ethiopia for 1 week with my Brazilian friend Giuliano and local friend Mary. It was a complicated trip as we had to reschedule all of our flights last minute due to the ongoing civil war in the country. Anyway, we managed to find a solution and off we went.
Lalibela!
We went to Lalibela as some of the only tourists at the time. And this area is a must-see in Ethiopia, with all its historical significance and the importance of Christianity. We also explored the Danakil Depression, one of the hottest places on earth.
Danakil Depression in Ethiopia.
Saw fire-spitting volcanoes and camped out there for days. We also went to Gambela in the west of Ethiopia, which is not very visited, and where the Ethiopian people are much taller than they are in the capital Addis Ababa. Because Gambela is bordering South Sudan, where the Dinka tribe lives, the tallest tribe in the world.
Gambela!
Guys, only one country in the world is now officially in year 2016. Ethiopia, 12th of September. All the rest of the world is in 2023, but here it's 2016.
Happy New Year, Ethiopia!
I always feel like I learn more when I revisit this country. After I brought a Gus on the Go expedition to Mogadishu and Somalia, where I ended up making 13 videos from the country, as probably the only foreign YouTuber to do so, and I was very happy to show a new side of Somalia, which is often portrayed in a very negative way. The war-torn country surely has a lot of positive things too, with beaches better than Copacabana in Brazil, and very welcoming Somali people. And I can't wait to come back in 2024. Where should I go there? Let me know in the comments. I came to Istanbul in Turkey and spent a day there with my Turkish friend Atakan. We had some good Turkish food before I went to Denmark to fix my new e-bike that I bought online, and I fixed it with my American-Danish friend Justin. After I watched Nesfit again with my dad, and they performed okay for Nesfit standards. I then went to Lisbon and spent a night out with Gina again for the second time this year, before going to Casablanca in Morocco. From here I went to
Lyon,
which some will call Morocco and some will call Western Sahara, with one of my best travel buddies, Per Person. Yes, the American-Danish guy who speaks all the big languages in the world. And we had 3 very good days here before I did a new Gus on the Go expedition in Mauritania. This time with 12 really cool people, and 4 of them were travelers who have visited every country of the world. It was an honor to bring some of the world's biggest travelers on my Gus on the Go expedition. And let's just say we had a blast exploring Mauritania. I celebrated my birthday in 4 different countries: Mauritania, Morocco, Italy and the Vatican, before doing a relaxing trip to Anzio, 1.5 hours outside of Rome.
Italian nonne on the beach talking some drama.
How perfect is Italy with 31 degrees Celsius in mid-October? Even with a damaged foot, it was great to chill out in my second home Italy before I flew to Poland. I arrived in Krakow and went to Katowice with my friend Max. We had some Polish beer.
Katowice. Bardzo dobre piwo. What's your favorite thing about Katowice?
Right now the sun, my beer, and the lovely afternoon we got.
And some pierogi to eat.
Katowice special, bardzo gorąco. It's very hot.
And we checked out this Polish pearl Katowice before we went back to Krakow and had a crazy night out there. We explored Krakow the day after,
Holland,
which has one of the most charming old towns in Europe, before meeting up with Per Person and going to Przemyśl on the border to Ukraine. Here we met with other Nomad Mania travelers and got ready for a very intense and dangerous week in Ukraine, going as close to the war as possible in the east. We started in Lviv in the west, which is quite safe, and then took a 16-hour night train to Kharkiv in the east, where air missiles hit frequently. And it was an intense time there, in a very beautiful city though. We went to a lot of destroyed villages in the east and saw the sad effects of the Russian invasion, and how brave and united the Ukrainian people were. We also visited the capital Kyiv and came back to Lviv to hold the Nomad Mania 2023 Travel Awards, which was a fantastic event under the sad circumstances.
Slava Ukraine!
It was a very meaningful visit to Ukraine, with all the ups and downs, and I learned a lot more about the identity of Ukraine and the culture here.
Perfect. Now I'm real Ukrainian.
I came back to watch Næstved with my dad, and Næstved still didn't win. But at least they managed to score some goals. So my dad and I were happy. I then came back to Lisbon, a European capital that has got it all, and this time I decided to visit Badajoz in the west of Spain, a region I didn't visit before. It had a nice cast and I enjoyed some good Spanish food before going back to Lisbon to fly to Madeira. Madeira is the birth island of Cristiano Ronaldo, the best football player in the history, and the locals very much agreed with that in the biggest city, Funchal.
Who is the best player in the world?
Ronaldo. Ronaldo is the best.
Oh, I love him, obviously.
Madeira is home to amazing scenery and with water temperatures hotter than the air temperature when I visited. You can swim all year round in Madeira and it's so nice. I was happy to meet Luis there, who showed me some wonderful natural spots, and we had some great conversations too. Also, you can't go to Madeira without drinking a poncha or maybe two. I really fell in love with this island. Then I went to Germany, flew into Weeze airport, rented a car and drove around Germany, Belgium and the Netherlands in this Volvo. At least the Swedes know how to make great cars. We started off going around Netherlands. We drove to Thorn at first, a beautiful Dutch white city. Then Eindhoven, which was okay but nothing too special.
What do you like about Eindhoven? Not much.
Eindhoven!
Then to Arnhem, which had a nice kind of spa hotel by the way.
We did a little stop here at this hotel, $50 a night, cool gym.
And then we went to Nijmegen, the 10th largest city of the Netherlands, and also one of the oldest Dutch cities.
I'm in the city that combines two countries, Valle-Nassau and Valle-Hertog, Belgium and the Netherlands. Very unique place. You can do a little workout. Belgium, Netherlands, Belgium, Netherlands, Belgium.
After that, on the 11th, we had to go to the carnival in Cologne in Germany, which also starts at 11 o'clock. People put on very creative costumes, and it was cool to experience a colorful and a fun Germany. For once at least. I'm just kidding. I'm Danish and I like our neighbor country. Then off to Dortmund, where it's a must to see the iconic football stadium, the Signal Iduna Park. And I also had a disappointing and overpriced Wiener Schnitzel, but with a world-class Weissbier to drink to it. I came back to Denmark and watched Næstved play 1-1 with the strongest team in the league, OB, which was a very positive experience. They still didn't win though, and my parents came to visit me after in Copenhagen. Then I went back to Serbia, rented a car and visited Novi Sad and Niš, some new cities in Serbia that I didn't visit before.
Why should people visit Serbia?
Good food, very nice nature, mountains, rivers.
And Novi Sad, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah, great architecture. People, always people.
Greetings from Serbia. Let's go to the party.
I also fell in love with this Serbian village close to Novi Sad called
Sremski Karlovac.
And Belgrade just has the best nights out. Here with my Serbian friend Simona.
Rakia in Serbia, let's try.
I came home to Denmark and drove to the other side of the country with my dad, and we saw a famous statue in Esbjerg of these four men called Men by the Sea.
Esbjerg!
And then we watched Næstved lose 4-1 in Haderslev after in the south of Jutland. Well, Næstved tried their best and it was a good father and son experience after all.
They lost 4-1, disaster.
I went back to the Aya Ancient Baths in Copenhagen and had a new relaxing session here. The snow started to fall in early December in my home city Næstved, and it made my city look so picturesque and beautiful. So it was perfect to hang out with my parents for a bit in these winter conditions. Then I went to Hungary and went to Győr, a new city for me to visit in Hungary. I had to get some langos here, which is a must in Hungary.
Langos. This is what we call the Hungarian pizza. You love langos?
Yes.
Welcome to Hungary!
Also, I spent some time in Budapest and went out here with my Brazilian friend Giovanna, and I also managed to go to the Gellert thermal bath in Budapest, one of the most iconic ones in Art Nouveau style. Try it out for sure if you visit this city.
What do you think of Budapest?
It's noisy, it's smelly, but it has a nice vibe of it. The energy, the clubs.
Yeah, smelly but fun.
Yeah, smelly but fun.
Then I took a train from Copenhagen to Linköping in Sweden, where I met my Somali friend Sarah, who showed me around Linköping.
Seems like the whole of Linköping is at the Christmas market. It's completely full of people.
A city that had an amazing Christmas market during these days, and Linköping was all covered in pretty snow. It was a new city for me to visit in Sweden, and it was an enjoyable visit.
Linköping, Sweden.
Then I went to Geneva in Switzerland, where they had a national day, where the locals dressed up and were moshing in the streets.
Yeah,
Today it's a commemoration to the war in 1602 for Geneva.
After Geneva, I went to UK's friendliest city,
Manchester!
the rainy city of Manchester, and spoke with a lot of the locals, and it was of course raining also. It might be a rather ugly city, but the people of Manchester make up for it.
What's the best city in England?
Manchester. Friendly and outgoing personalities. I then made my weird Scandinavian videos in Copenhagen, which went super viral on all platforms, and I joined the Palestine demonstration, just hoping for this genocide to stop.
I just lost my credit card and it got trapped somewhere, so I had to jump over a fence to get it. It was insane. Anyway, off to Maldives.
To spend the last 2 weeks of the year in paradise. I was in the Maldives 8 years ago, so it was amazing to come back and spend a lot of time in Toto Island, which had one of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen. And I like that you could bike around everywhere on the island because it's so small and very local.
Welcome to the Maldives!
I made a good Bangladeshi friend called Lukman here with a great laugh. The sea was kinda rough, but we managed to see some beautiful sandbanks also. Also, I went to Aru Island and visited the most southern point of the Maldives, where you needed a special permit to see this point, as it's military area. And I rented a scooter here and checked out all of the places on the 5 connected islands. How cool was this random shipwreck on the shore? I spent some days in Male and Hulhumale, and it was great, but I stayed in a really bad hotel.
Most disgusting hotel.
Still really interesting to see the contrast to the island life with a bustling city. I love the Maldives and its people, who are super friendly, and they really never try to scam you. Also, it's one of the most peaceful countries on the planet. I think this was the perfect place to go after an extremely busy and demanding year, which also was so much fun, and a year that I will never forget. I took revenge with Bahrain, that I visited for 5 days in 2018.
I'm from Bahrain. It's a small island, you can finish everywhere and
Ahlan wa sahlan Bahrain.
And came back here and spent 1.5 days in one of the most liberal countries in the Middle East, and also the 3rd smallest country in Asia. Then I went to Athens and had New Year here with Harry, the world's most traveled man, and rounded off a crazy, hectic and amazing 2023, where I both managed to travel a lot and also to spend precious time with my loved ones. I can say I didn't have any boring days in an office, which is a waste of life for me personally, and which you can also strive for if you work hard for it and get good at something so you can work for yourself. I now have 330,000 subscribers on YouTube, 387,000 followers on Facebook, 72,000 followers on Instagram, and 230,000 followers on TikTok. Does it count? I don't know. Anyway, this put me on more than 1 million of you guys following along. Thank you so much for your support, and you can also check my Patreon in the link below. This was my travel year. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Richness is doing the things you want to do every single day, not material possessions. How was your year? What was your best travel experience in 2023? Please comment below. Remember to subscribe to Gus and the Go. See you guys!